This class is part of the Embodied writing series of classes, and it combines a restorative practice with some time for writing and journaling. And so for the practice today, all you'll need is one blanket. If you have a yoga mat, that works too, but you actually don't necessarily need that because we're going to be lying first on our bellies and then on our backs for that meditative part of practice. So this is an opportunity to explore the developmental movement pattern of yield. So this is a quality that we experience in our bodies from the point of conception, and particularly in utero and as infants, until we start to develop our sensory motor system. And so yield is this idea of kind of resting into the support provided by a caregiver's arms, or when you're resting maybe on the floor or in a crib or in a sling, like wherever there is support. It's an opportunity to begin to embody and to let our bodies remember what it felt like to be held. And so we can think of this quality of yielding in the body as being receptive to the support around us. It also means that we have to trust the support of the ground underneath our bodies. When we allow ourselves to inhabit or embody this quality of yielding, we're able to access our breath, and it comes sort of much more rhythmically and full and consciously. And it's important to remember that, right, this idea of yielding into the ground, we also need that in order to then move into the world. Like, think about when you're sitting on a couch and you want to get up. It's like you sort of have to lean back and then press yourself up to stand. So it's that leaning back quality, that kind of turning into yourself in a way that can then support you as you move about in the world. All right. So, as I mentioned, you'll need one blanket. And you want to make sure that your blanket is folded, right? So I have it folded in half once and then twice. So it's in this rectangular shape. And you're going to do an accordion fold. So you're going to go back and forth with your blanket once and then twice. And what that does, it's kind of creating this stacked, like tri-fold blanket. And you're going to place this right across your mat or your space horizontally. And you're going to want to have it support kind of that space between the tops of your thighs and your lower ribs. And then you can stack your hands one on top of the other. So options here to let your forehead come to rest on the floor, or even to turn one cheek down to rest on the ground. And again, just kind of making sure that you're somewhat comfortable here and it's a place where you can be. We'll be here for just a little bit of time, so keep that in mind. So if you need any other props, if you feel like you need to cover yourself up with another blanket or put on extra layers, and do whatever you need to do so you don't feel distracted from the task at hand. And then once you start to kind of settle into this pose and really start to let yourself feel the contact that your body makes with the ground. We're going to actually begin by tensing and really contracting the muscles of our body and then releasing. So we'll do that 3 times. So really try to make your muscles tight, engaged, maybe making fists, scrunching up your toes, firming your quadriceps, your navel, even your face. And then slowly start to let that relax and release. You're going to do that 2 more times. So maybe use your inhale to really tense and hold yourself away from the ground, squeezing the muscles in your body, and then exhale. Let everything soften, release. And then 1 more time. Really tighten up your muscles, contract the body as much as you can, and then release. And now really let yourself make full contact with the ground. When we yield, we become more present to the ground on which we are supported, more present to the dynamic release of stress, holding, tension, and then more present to what might arise when we allow ourselves to let go. So yield has a tone or a quality of relaxed engagement. So you aren't entirely collapsing into the ground or the props, and you aren't perched or rigid. There's this give and take. Your body to the earth to your body. Right? The quality of yield is more receptive and open. And as I mentioned, it welcomes the breath in a full, conscious, and rhythmic way. When we allow ourselves these moments of feeling held and supported, we have access to the earth's nurturing and enduring energy that can feel deeply regenerative to the nervous system. Bonnie Bainbridge Cohen is a movement specialist, and she says the weight you release into the earth comes back in equal measure as support. And so let yourself yield to those internal impulses. Trying not to inhibit yourself in any way. Let yourself yield to the natural shape, rhythm, or position in which you are resting. And if there's still any places in your body where you do feel any gripping or holding, maybe even use your awareness and visualize that area yielding into itself. Notice your breath here and see if you can really use it as a way to feel yourself being rocked and swayed by that gentle rhythm of breath. letting your breath flow in and out unimpeded and unencumbered. Be less reliant on the structural support of muscle, bone, and connective tissue. And as you feel your body yielding, you might begin to notice an impact, maybe on your energy, your emotional state, any other patterns that you were experiencing prior to your practice. Are you able to trust the ground upon which you rest? Are you able to trust your innate capacity to reorient towards a sense of safety and sanctuary? If you have one cheek resting, take a moment to place the opposite cheek to rest, just to bring some symmetry and evenness to your neck. And then even as you do that small movement of turning your head from one side to the other, let yourself travel back along that pathway of yield. then slowly begin to deepen your breath. And as you inhale, really feel the breath expanding, maybe even slightly lifting you off or away from the floor. And as you exhale, really feel the front of your body kind of soften, releasing. And stay with your breath for 2 more cycles. And then slowly bring your hands underneath your shoulders. And then carefully press yourself up. So take the blanket that was supporting the front of your body. I'm going to have you unfold it, and then instead of folding, you're going to roll your blanket up. So from the long end. So for this next one, you may or may not need the blanket, but just have it handy in case. You're going to lie down on your back. And you're going to place your blanket right across the belly and thighs, so just right across your low belly. And you're going to take your legs up. And now, if you tend to be a little tighter in your hamstrings, you can bend the knees as much as you need. If you're less tighter, and you certainly don't have to, you're going to start to bring your legs over so that your feet are more over your face. Right, and the blanket is there to kind of just put a brake on your thighs, especially for those of you that are a little bit more flexible, right? Your legs could probably come in closer. So that's just giving you a little pause there. And now you can let your arms come to rest by your side. And then you're using just enough effort, just enough force to keep your legs in this position. And where you feel the blanket making contact with the thighs and the belly, see if you can soften your belly towards the floor. With each exhale, you might feel that kind of broadening, widening, spreading of your lower back. Now inviting the spine to be the point of contact on the ground. And then can you give yourself over to this new shape? And then let your knees start to bend a little bit more. Kind of doing that with each exhale, you must let your legs start to travel down. And eventually, you let your heels drop towards your sits bones. And then lower one foot to the floor. Lower the other foot to the floor. And then let your feet be a little bit wider than hips distance. And then your inner knees can knock together. You're welcome to keep that blanket on your body. You might even bring your hands to rest somewhere along the front of your body, maybe your heart or your solar plexus or even your belly. And even here, can you embody the quality of yield? There's no muscular engagement. There's no trying to hold yourself in a certain way. And you're welcome to stay here. And I'll offer you the writing prompts, and of course, if you feel the desire to write, if something comes up for you, then feel free to, of course, sit up and begin writing. Or know that you can just listen to the prompts that I give, stop the video, maybe come back to the prompts another time, but just as you're continuing to rest in this way, repeat just two of those questions I asked earlier in the very first pose. Right. The first one is, are you able to trust the ground upon which you rest or which you lie? And then that follow-up question, what does it feel like to trust the ground underneath you? And then finally, what does it feel like to trust your innate capacity to reorient towards a sense of safety and sanctuary? And then I'll leave you with a poem by Rilke. And this is from the Book of Hours. How surely gravity's law, strong as an ocean current, takes hold of even the smallest thing and pulls it toward the heart of the world. Each thing, each stone blossom child is held in place. Only we, in our arrogance, push out beyond what we reach belong to for some empty freedom. If we surrendered to Earth's intelligence, we could rise up rooted like trees. Instead, we entangle ourselves in knots of our own making and struggle, lonely and confused. So like children, we begin again to learn from the things. This is what the things can teach us: to fall patiently, to trust our heaviness. Even a bird has to do that before he can fly. So thanks so much for your participation in this. And as always, I hope this opportunity to really allow yourself to rest into that steady support of the ground underneath you can create just sense of presence and to really let that infuse all that you do in the world.